let's look at aspect that shows up, I would say, very, very often in ordinary level living cert, extremely rarely actually in higher level. But let's have a look at it. Jacob buys a paddle online. The paddle cost $95. Jacob thinks that the exchange rate being used is €1 to 1.183 of a dollar. The actual exchange rate being used is actually €1 to don't know how much dollars. As a result, the paddle cost 1.02 more than Jacob thought that it would. Use these, so what use this, all of that, to find the value of D, correct, to 3 decimal place. Now, money exchange, foreign exchange, however you want to call that, there is a lot of ways of doing that, okay? I pick one of the methods that I think doesn't require much kind of thinking. It does work by itself. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So here we have two situations. Jacob thinks and the real price, isn't it? That's what happened. So let's consider what Jacob thinks. So what he thinks is that this is the exchange rate. So we are saying €1 is equal to 1.183 of a dollar. Now, how much dollar did he pay? So we are saying he paid, because that's the information we have, 95. And therefore, well, I don't know how much euro he thinks he paid, okay? Because that's the idea. That's what he thinks. That's the situation. Actually, let's change that to blue. Now, before we keep on going, let's just pause for a moment. So this type of a method, that's what we call, it can be called ratio, proportion. I'm trying to think, it has a lot of different names. The idea is that I am comparing like with like. In order for this method to work, I have to have the same stuff on those side of the equation. Now, I could write them the other way around, meaning I could say dollar to dollar, and then I could write euro to euro on the other side, whatever that information is, right? As long as, that's what I'm saying, we are comparing like with like. That's the main idea. And how do we solve that? We cross multiply it. And again, it doesn't matter which side you start. You can go 1 by 95, 95 by 1, x by 1.183, or whichever way you want. Any kind of this combination will be correct. So I want to find the value of x, not x multiplied by a number. To eliminate multiplication, what do? We divide, and we divide both sides of the equation. And we put that in our calculator, and we get the answer that is 80.304. So that's what Jacob thinks he paid. But what did he actually paid? So Jacob actually paid. So he paid, we are told that he paid what he thought plus 1.02 euro. Okay, so together that's the euro that he paid. So therefore, again, to create our equation, we use euro and we use dollar on the other side. That was 95. And here we are saying that's my D, that's the value I'm looking for. What was the actual exchange rate? So again, how do I deal with that? I multiply across. So 1 multiplied by 95, which is 95. And whatever that value is, now there is a reason why I'm not adding them, so that you can see how the numbers move around. I want to find the value of D, not D multiplied by a number. Therefore, what do? I divide both sides by that number that stands beside D. And again, when we put our fraction so that in our calculator, we get the answer that the value of D is 1.168. That was the actual exchange rate. Now, one thing that I want to say that this is actually one thing, because very often people are saying, well, maths is not really useful in our daily life. How often do I use Pythagoras? Fair enough. I don't use Pythagoras either in daily life. But this method, this type of calculation is actually one thing that I do use in everyday life. I find it extremely useful, especially when you are in the shop and you are looking at, is that special offer actually that special? Anyway, well done.